Okay, back to trying to record again. Okay, so I forgot where I left off with trying to get everything started again. So, this is a picture of this plant through shade. So, plant once and done, return year after year perennial. It was 4 roots for $4.94, and basically that's how it looked. The bulbs I wasn't expecting because, as I was saying before, I thought they were going to be roots like those. Okay, so with the bulbs, it just take a little bit more work. It ain't even a whole lot. I was explaining like that one. I had to actually wrap around the root in order to have it sit in that hole. Now that hole could have been smaller, but I was trying to work with it a little bit to get this root to fit in there so it could take advantage of the water, because I had put it in a net pot and it didn't quite fit in the net pot, so then I put it in the in a cup of water, and it didn't like that, so I put it in here. And at first it looked a lot like this one when I put it in here, but as you can see now, it's kind of greening up and it should be okay. So I've had these, and my little rock garden is just completely neglected. So that's my hydroponics garden right there. You see there's some, what do we call those? I forgot for the moment, but they're real pretty priced once they start. So I've actually started these, and the funny thing about this one, I had the bigger version of this, which is down here. That's the bigger version. If I can move this plant out the way. Okay, so it's down here. Okay, and it was dying, so I put it in this aquarium water, which is, I'm seeing, is very good for the plants. Now there's no fish in this aquarium anymore because I had a small catastrophe. Fish are all in another tank. I don't know why they suddenly started dying off in this tank, because this tank got good water in it. So what I did was I took them out of this tank, and then I put the flowers in here, and the flowers are doing fine. That tells me there was no kind of poisonous imbalance in the water or anything, because if the flowers would work with them, then the fish should have been able to survive. But for some reason, it might have been that the fish was just weak. So, let me get back to that. Well, what I was saying was, those flowers right there, they, that big plant just started growing and thriving. This little guy was growing off of the root. This little guy right here. It was growing off the root underwater. And you could tell it was a plant and not actually a root, because it was green under the water, growing off of the root. So when I put the big plant in the pot, and that stocking ball you see, that's something else to do with the straining of the water when I'm siphoning out contaminants from the aquariums. Anyway, that has nothing to do with it. But when I planted this big one, as you can see, it's got some growth coming right out the middle, that new leaf. But when I planted the big one, and these are little smaller versions, they peace lilies. Okay, so when I planted the big peace lily in the dirt, which I think is what I'm gonna have to do with these, because I think they're beginning to get malnutrition from being in here, because they're not getting enough nutrients. So they're probably going to be planted in dirt pretty soon. Miracle Grow do them good. The big one look great. So and then this, of course, this is a neglected hydroponics setup, so I had to fix it back up. So that might be the reason why they looking like they were, because they got ignored for a while. Anyways, they're not getting ignored now, so they're probably doing a lot better. Now, I had these set up in here. As you can see, there's one still right there. It's right there. And I decided to pull them out because they're not growing as good as I would like them to, or especially these two ones. The other two are actually doing okay. This is the one that I just pulled out. As you can see, it's actually doing okay. There's an offshoot coming out there. There's the bulb they were talking about with the roots at the bottom. Okay, that's a bit of styrofoam that has nothing to do with this setup. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm not even bothering to rinse the dirt off. Eventually I may empty this tank and make it a planted tank anyway. So I'm not even bothering to rinse the dirt off. I'm just putting them into the tank. So what I'm doing, this one was a little bit more difficult because it's just going straight up from the bulb. There's no curve like this one has or that one. It's just coming straight up from the bulb. So that means if it should drop, it's going to drop, you know, straight down, because there's nothing to hold it. So what I did was I took these, they actually, what are they? They're shop towels. They're convenient for a lot of things. That's a shop towel. I get them from Menards. And I put it in to the hole that I made for it. Just enough to get this in there. You know, this top part without it breaking or anything. So then I put the plant in from the bottom. You know, and then the extra room, I stuffed the shop towel around the stem. Not enough to crush the stem, but enough to hold that kind of solid in there. You know, so that now it's right under there. Its root is underwater. It's right there in that corner. It didn't have a lot of root. Actually, the bulb is not underwater at all. I'm gonna have to see about that. But the root is underwater. So what I'm gonna do for this one is I'm gonna leave it like that. The bulb is not underwater, but the root is underwater. I don't think that's gonna damage it too much, because the root is grabbing up water. Might have to put it in because I hadn't realized that the root was not underwater at all for neither one. This one I could probably angle it down more so that the root will get down in the water. I'm probably going to manipulate this one so that it'll fall down more so it's in the water. This one should be fine because it should be cool because there's a lot of plant there. So in any case, I'm going to manipulate them so that they can sit in the water and they can start getting more green and thriving a little bit more. And look, maybe blossom more like this. Now, the fact that these are in the styrofoam, when I'm ready to take them out and plant them, that's no problem if they should grow big like this. And then you have that root right there. Because we're just going to cut the styrofoam and break it apart so that the plants are still looking good. We're not going to try to push it back through the hole. So we got that one just put in. That was the one we was looking at before. its root and bulb is kind of like an angle, but there was enough root and bulb where, as you can see from the bottom there, it's reaching the bulb and the root is all the way down in the water. Whereas the other one over there, you can't hardly see it. And here for this one, the bulb is kind of halfway down in the water. So I can't really do anything about them now. I'm just going to see how they're growing. So those three right there, the last one I'm going to leave in the water. So we're going to see how they work. They may all three be good. But as like I said, this one's bulb is not in the water. That one's bulb is completely in the water. And that one's halfway in the water. So that'll give us something to test right there. You know, if the plants start looking like they're dying like that one was, then we'll just try something else. Because rather than have them die, we'll just let them grow in the dirt. The strawberries look like they're growing fine. So, okay, so we have those set up. We have the last one set up right there. It's still in the hydroponics garden. So, that's good. A lot of testing being done. Those are roots. Those are bulbs. And with actual, I would say, plants coming out of them. Okay. Then you had this one that's in the fall pot. It's just one root. It was just one root. No kind of plant coming out. And I don't really see a result, but it's only been planted this week. Then, of course, we have the strawberries there. And we're beginning to see little viney things coming out. So they may have been better off than I thought they were. So that's what we have for what we're starting to go out in the garden. Take advantage a little bit of the leaves that I collected last year that is either along the shed or in the compost bin. That I had compost, and I also had got a lot of sphagnum, what is it? Sphagnum, whatever that stuff is. Sphagnum moss, whatever I think that is. And then I believe I may even try to grab some Miracle Grow. But then I might just work with what I have and try to set up a good environment for these to be planted in, other than just the dirt outside, which I'm pretty sure is, you know, not all that great. So make some flower boxes to put these guys in. And I'm also going to try to plant some lavender along the side of the house, try to get rid of the mosquitoes. I don't think it's the right kind for getting rid of mosquitoes, but we'll see. It's all about experimenting. I'm going to sign off with that. Later I'll compare these to how they look when I first started them off. And then we're going to keep a good eye on these. Okay, so that'll probably be, other than the lavender, that'll probably be the last thing I plant to be put out in the garden this year. Then all those tomato plants, I'm going to cut all the dead leaves off of those and plant them in the garden too, see if they do anything. I think the cucumbers are sufficiently dead, but I might drop some seeds in the garden, see what they do, okay? But with that, bye-bye. I'm Ebonygeek, and I hope that the information provided has been helpful to you. Please remember to subscribe. Happy building and happy coding.